Welcome back everyone to Data Science for Everyone. Today we're going to be talking about group by and aggregate functions. So group by is going to allow us to group by rows, and we're going to use them based off of some sort of column value. Now we're going to perform this operation on a bunch of different aggregate functions for our data, and we're also going to be utilizing the aggregate method itself, okay, to show some very interesting and cool things that we can do. So first off, let's go on and get a Spark session done and start it up. I'll ask you guys to use this URL I saved up and made some mock sales data here, okay, just a really small data set, and we'll download that. And also, let me make sure and run that real quick. And then we also need to make sure that we're going to import our data, and we need to also start a Spark session. So first off, let me actually add in my Spark session information here. So let's do Spark is going to equal Spark session dot builder dot app name, and we're going to call this group by ag. And then let's just get or create, run that. And again, this may take a little bit of time, so don't worry a whole lot about that. But while that's running, I'm going to go on and import the data. So we're just going to call this df for our data frame. We're going to do spark.read.csv. And since I called this sales data.csv, that's what we'll use here. So sales data.csv. Now here we want to infer schema is going to be true, and we also want our header to be true as well. And let that run, and I'll add a line over here, and then we can also start doing something like df.print schema to make sure that everything looks good. And here we see we have a couple things here. We have company, which is a string. We have the sales representative, which is going to be a string. And then we also have our name sales, which is going to be true. Now that is incorrect. Okay, so we're going to have to fix that. So one thing that we can do then is, actually let me look and see what the data actually looks like here, and see what we want to do to fix that. Let's see why. I'm actually curious as to why it did that to begin with. So, because it shouldn't have. What we may do, let me go here. Let's look at our data. Because I didn't want this data set to cause anyone any trouble. So let me delete this really quickly, and let me download the file and see if whenever we infer the schema it will fix that. Let me see what happens. Yeah, let's just run that real quick. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it must have been a glitch in whenever I downloaded the data. So if you look here now, our number sales is a double. Okay, and that's actually what was expected whenever I downloaded this. So you may need to run this once or twice just to make sure that whenever it imports the data and downloads the data and makes the file, it'll actually do it correctly. We want the data to actually come out as company is a string, representative is a string, and then we want our number of sales variable here to be double. So let's take a look at the data. And again, this is a very tiny data set. So I just made up some fake companies here, XYZ, ABC, OK, and blah, with some representatives as well as their sales figures. So let's maybe start by just grouping everything together by company. So if we do df.groupBy, okay, and now you see two different ones here. Go with the one with the capital B, and then here we want to group by company. And then we want to do something, you know what, let me just run it like that so you can see what this actually creates. So this actually creates a group by or grouped data object. Okay, it doesn't actually do anything to the data. It doesn't allow us to utilize anything. It just becomes this object that says, oh, I am grouped by the company. We have to use an aggregate function, okay, in order to get anything useful from this. So there's, again, aggregate functions are something like mean, count, max, min, sum. Oh, and so there are many other aggregate functions, and we can even make up our own functions later on. But for now, let's just use these as some example cases. So if we do df.group, group by, and we want company, and then we do something like mean.show. Now we see here that it will give us the mean of each of our sets by the company. And if you notice here, this actually just changes this, the name of the variable, to average num underscore sales. And I'll show you here maybe in a few minutes how we actually utilize an alias function to change the name of this. And we'll also work on showing you guys how to change the precision here. So let's go through and do a couple more so we can see what we're creating. So if we do df.group by, we'll do company again. And let's do maybe the count. We'll do show. Run this, and we see here that, well, it'll actually give us the count of each of the companies. So, so for example, if we have our data set here, and let's say that it's a really, really big data set, and you want to see how many times company XYZ has been assisting with sales with different representatives. Well, then you can just use this count method to see that blah has been there 4 times, XYZ is 3, ABCD is 3, and OK is 2. Let's see, which others do we want to do? Let's do something like the min and the max are a little bit boring, but we can still do them anyways just to show that they work. Let's do maybe just one of them, and we'll do company and min. Well, actually, I guess it is quite interesting though to see. So, for example, if you want to see what is the min value, the minimum sale value for a specific company, you can see that. We can also, I guess, then we'll do the max, just to be able to do a comparison on them.
Is this something GitHub from last week?
Yes, it is.
Like, is this like a continual?
Yes, this is just a continuation. And so I will update this, and it will be on the GitHub page today. Same with the data set. So here you can see the number of sales, the minimum sales, the maximum sales, and then I think we'll do one more in just the sum. So we can do, for example, the total sales. So if you had this by month, you can do a group by the name and the month. So df.groupBy, and we'll do company dot sum dot show. Run that as well. And so here we can also see that, again, blah is number 1 in sales, XYZ comes in last place, OK comes in second, and then ABC comes in third. Now, one other thing that we can look at is we can utilize actually aggregating the method. Okay, and this is very useful for when you're wanting to maybe do several aggregations at a time. And you can do this by creating a single column or multiple columns. And so let's go and give this a try. So if we do something like df.ag, now we need a dictionary for this. So then we do sales, sales, and then I want to find the max. Okay, dot show. Now notice something here. Whoops. Oh, whoops, it's num sales. Sorry. Let's do Now, if you notice here, okay, this doesn't, we're not actually utilizing any group by methods or anything else. You can just do this based on a single column, okay, and you can use this also with the group by. So we can also do something like, let me also do this. We can do num sales, and we'll do, we did max there, so let's do min now. And notice here, this is a little bit interesting, okay? Notice it just goes to the last one, okay? And we'll, later on in the series, we'll actually go through and I'll show you guys how to make multiple. But right now, just know that this is potentially the case, all right? This is what happens if you try and do multiple, okay? It's not going to actually give you both of those labels coming back. It's just going to give you one variable. So the last one that it aggregated to. Let's see. Okay. Let me show you this with the group by. So if we do df dot group by, and then let's do company, and we want something like dot ag, and let's just do the same one. So let's do num sales, and then maybe let's just do mean dot show. Okay, and then so here we actually see that this is actually the same as what we did up here. All right, so but we just used the mean method, and then down here we used the aggregation method. But this is very useful for when you want to maybe create multiple, maybe you want to create up your own aggregate function, and you want to apply it to a specific column. Okay, and you can also do this in a couple. Let me just show you guys one more way here, and this is actually very useful if you want to do multiple different aggregations, and you want to do a group of let's say company groups, and so you do df.groupBy. You just create your group by object. Okay, and then you can do any of your aggregates off of the, well, here we can just say company groups, and you guys can see that it is a group by object. But we can run that group by object through doing mean, whoops, not some, show. Okay, and so then you could always just go back and change this however you wanted to. It just depends on what your preference is. Sometimes if I'm doing a little bit of just peeking at the data and I want to know what each of them are, I'll have a tendency to make this nice group by object, and then I can just go back into this cell and change this to maybe min and run that, and I don't actually have to go back and type out the whole thing every time. You can just run them individually very quickly in quick succession. So the next thing let's actually talk about and look at is the functions. Now, there are a variety of functions that you can import. So from this PySpark SQL functions. Now, there are a ton of different functions that you have there, and you can go on and go to Spark's website and actually just search this PySpark SQL functions, and then you can see the full list there. But today we're going to work on count distinct, average, and standard deviation. So we can do something useful as such like df.select, and then we can use this count distinct inside of the select statement, and let's say sales, num sales, and then we need to .show. And if you see here now, it shows how many distinct number of sales that we have here, and this is 11. Now we could do this using pure SQL as well, and you can see that that's technically what's going on in the background, is that it's actually running a distinct on the sales, and then it's doing a count using a count method on top of that. But this is just a little bit easier for, I would say, for readability. That's why I personally will prefer to use this this type. Now, as I said before, usually we may want to change the name, okay? So here, this looks relatively ugly, okay? And if you're wanting to export a table and you want to be able to refer back to it in a nice, clean manner instead of calling this column count distinct num sales, you may want to call it something else, so like distinct sales. So let's grab that, let's paste it on here. And let's go through and grab dot alias, and we'll use whoops. All right, and we'll do something like distinct sales, and we'll run that. Okay, whoops. And why did that not work? Did I do it in the wrong order? Let's see here. I think that maybe needs to be right in there. There we go. So this needs to, again, this is just like using an alias inside of SQL. Okay, so here you need to put it on inside of the select statement and whatever you want it to enact on. So for example, we want this alias method to be enacted on this column here. Oops, this column here. So then it will actually change that to distinct sales. You can change it to, well, we can literally change it to anything we want. Okay, so that we can, so then again, you'll be able to refer back to that as a nice alias in the future. So let me see here. My computer is being a little fussy at the moment. There it is. Okay, so all right, next thing, let's maybe go through and let's work on what did we use here? We did distinct. We've done, all right, so let's maybe go and try let's maybe go back up here and let's try doing something like average. So I'll go right up here. We'll do it up here. So because again we have our average our average function here. So let's do something like df dot select, and then here we want to do the average of num sales, and we run this and we'll see again it does this average. Now if you notice, this is a very long number, and that's what we're gonna go down here to precision here in just a minute to rectify that. But let's also go and do and calculate up the standard deviation, so which is that stand div. So df.select, and then here we want the standard deviation, and we want that on our num sales. And again, we see here now, notice here that this is stand div sample num sales. And again, what it is it's just converting all of this to SQL, okay, in the background. It's basically just a SQL object that it's utilizing to show these calculations. So if we go back down and we want to say, let's go to our precision. So from our precision, we need to actually import this format number, and that's going to help us be able to change our precision. So if we go and let's start out maybe doing, let's redo the standard deviation, but we'll call it sales std for standard deviation, df.select, and then we'll do standard stand div, and then we'll do num sales, and then here, remember, let's use that alias that we just learned, alias, and we want it to be just standard, yeah, I'll just do stand dev, and then dot show. Whoop. And actually, we don't actually need to do the dot show. I actually wanted to save this like this. Okay, and then we can do dot show. So, whoops. Okay, and we can run this. Now, notice again that we have this nice long number here, and we want to be able to actually format this. So let's just say we want to save it in this nice sales std. So then let's also grab and do something like sales std dot select, and then here we want to grab we actually want to select out here we want to use the format number, and then when we're selecting it, we're going to select whatever that alias that was that we used for this. So we're going to be grabbing this variable here, so stddev, and then we are going to do comma 2. And so this will allow us to round this to 2 decimal places, such as here. So now let's do this dot show. And we'll see here that we have gotten to 20509. So again, it just rounded up, okay, to 2 decimal places. Again, since there's 7, it goes up to 9. And then now we are going to be working on this last little method here, and that is the order by. So if we do df dot order by, and we do something like num sales show, and this will do everything in ascending order, okay? Now, if you want to change that, okay, we actually need to do something a little bit different. So we would do df dot order by. Now here we are going to use the data frame syntax like we would in pandas, and then dot desc for descend, and then dot show. Okay, so what we have covered today is basically the most basic functions that are available under PySpark. Okay, this is the best way to get you guys to be able to kind of explore your data, clean your data a little bit, and really take time to understand a little bit about your data set. Thank you guys so much. And again, if you like this, please make sure and subscribe down below and give us a like. Thanks. Bye.